Time to take a look at some of the albums that dropped in July of 2021, all chosen by my patrons. You can have a say in videos like this by supporting Rocked on Patreon. Please click on the link in the video description for more info. Up first is Call of the Wild, the next entry into the fantastically over-the-top Powerwolf. It was a few years ago that I was introduced to Powerwolf, a power metal band from Germany relishing in songs about demons, the undead, and the occult, but presented in such a fun, lively way, it's hard not to sing along. I was more than excited for the next album, Call of the Wild, as the band's 8th studio release. Running 40 minutes across 11 tracks, this album is as operatic, theatrical, bombastic, over-the-top, and ridiculous as I could have hoped, while also sounding really good. The organ work from Folk Maria is always the icing on the cake, and it shines on Call of the Wild from the opening minutes. The booming high points become uplifting and motivating in spite of the dark topics being sang about, which I think is part of the fun. The absurdity is fantastic, as is the music writing that builds up to so much. You almost always are satisfied after each song due to the swelling chorus of delivery from Attila Dorn, whose voice is as powerful as ever. The biggest moments are carried with his singing. Dancing with the Dead has the sing-along chorus you want to hear loud, and the title track shows off some excellent playing skill and music writing. The calmer, drier moments of the album go by quickly enough before the pulse rises back and you are air guitaring along to a song about zombies or werewolves or whatever the band deems important. 18 years in and Powerwolf are still going strong. Sacrifices to demons in the form of song must really do wonders for their aging as well as their performing ability. Demons really are a girl's best friend. I put Call of the Wild on par with the Sacrament of Sin in terms of total package. The biggest moments on the album are the drive, and then once you give it a full listen, you'll be surprised with a few of the deep cuts. Powerwolf have a unique sound and do great, powerful vocals and exceptional key work, so when you add more instruments and strings and make the whole package theatrical, it's a blast. Overall, Call of the Wild continues an energetic legacy that proves power metal can be as technically skilled and memorable as it is fun. Powerwolf took their emphatic delivery, added more strings and climactic moments, and made sure the call was as loud and heavy as ever. This is a band that relishes in character and performance, and the German power metal group are continuing to do it well. Up next is Ninth and Walnut, an album made with decades-old recordings and a few new songs by SoCal's Descendents. Going back into the vault of songs and riff ideas many decades old, later recording them in all separate sessions between the early 2000s and 2020, shelving them and then bringing them back to a 2021 polish is at the very least a unique concept that few punk bands, or bands in any genre, can claim. Descendents did just that though with Ninth and Walnut in a makeshift B-sides, rarities, EP, etc., whatever you want to call this. While hosting 18 tracks, the runtime of Ninth and Walnut only spans just about 25 minutes. Not only is each track brief even by old punk standards, but many songs range around 1 minute. There is energy, great bass and guitar riffs, and each song feels truly isolated from each other. It's a playlist of Descendents tracks to rock out with just long enough to not lose interest in each song. Even with the re-recordings, few tracks breach 2 minutes. It's exactly what you would expect when thinking of Descendents jamming around for 90 seconds at a time. Make no mistake that this album is absolutely for longtime fans who wanted to hear shelved recordings and samples from a legendary punk band back in their heyday. As for remastering old recordings and making everything sound up to 2021 standards, the production team and the band did a great job. The album also really feels completely random, much like it must have been for the group a generation ago when playing anything that came to mind with about as much focus as a toddler on a sugar high. Technically sound, great mini jams, and that's about it. The music is part time capsule and part random samples from a great band of yesteryear. There's not one part of Ninth and Walnut that's bad or poorly performed, but there's also not a lot of meat on the bone. This album is made for the longtime fans of Descendents who want to listen to shelved tracks and ideas that were visited over the years and finally brought to light. Is it a genre-changing entry? Not at all. Is it something fun for their fans? Yeah. Overall, Ninth and Walnut is a flashback to what Descendents were creating years back and more proof of their raw talent that was way ahead of their time. It's definitely not for everyone, and the short runtime, through individual songs and the whole album, will leave everything going by in a flash. It's still a fun piece when looked at in Descendents history, though. Getting a little heavier with the next album, Angel or Alien, the latest from Born of Osiris. For a band that's made its name with crazy live shows since roughly 2003, Born of Osiris must have gone crazy in quarantine, as the group said they wrote 2 albums while off the road, the first being Angel or Alien, the band's 6th studio release. Progressive metalcore bands love to write, however, and this might be great proof of that. Angel or Alien, running 14 tracks across 55 minutes, is the band's evolution over the years to djent and working with synth and mixing behind some annihilating guitar work that really is the standout in many moments on this album. It is definitely more metalcore in a sea of the same same style, but the few elements that Born of Osiris stand out with in story writing and guitar percussion raise them a little above average. The talent is shown in songs like the title track and Threat of Your Presence, which have wild moments but are able to make everything transition perfectly, but for those moments there is a long stretch of runtime that is indistinguishable from track to track. That becomes a problem with 55 minutes of music. There are definite high points, and I'm sure some of this will be a blast live to hear, but I also feel Born of Osiris' latest offering is going to be another entry lost in an ocean of metalcore that many listeners won't be able to point out. It's a shame because you can hear the effort and the pros on Angel or Alien outweigh the cons, but at the end of the day, it's 2021 and the subgenre is not changing. This album is more proof of that. Can I see why progressive metal fans would enjoy it? Absolutely. Do I think it's well produced? Totally. Is it something that myself and many people will come back to? I'm not so sure. I wanted to like this album more than I did because there are some strong hooks with the music, and when there is a clean transition from loud to clean, it works. But after about 10 minutes, your eyes gloss over and much of the album becomes background noise. Good background noise, but nothing to really make you want to replay it. Overall, Angel or Alien is a solid entry that will definitely make fans of the band happy and might entice a few prog fans into listening to some otherworldly chaos. The additional instruments and elements push the album above average, and Born of Osiris definitely made an album that will undoubtedly rile up sweaty metal fans in concert clubs once the pandemic is over. And finally, we have American Noir, a story-based EP from UK's Creeper. After Creeper returned in 2020 with their second studio album Sex, Death, and the Infinite Void, we found out during that album's recording session that more music was made in a follow-up narrative to the band's ongoing story of fallen angels and cursed lovers. Running 8 tracks across 19 minutes, several of which being interludes, Creeper has a great interpretation of the seedy life of being planted in America with their turn of phrase that both defines characters in a story and gets imagery across. It's campy, it's brooding, it's 100% Creeper. The wording and the writing is nice, but it's Will and Hannah's combined vocals once again that steal the show, especially with Hannah getting enough time to shine. Midnight is such a powerful song that it really makes you come back to it as soon as it's over. There are several tracks with that pull on American Noir. While there are a few tracks meant just for story purposes and running less than a minute, I do feel they serve a purpose being here. It's a well thought out EP that continues the band's story in a fun way, and Creeper are continuing to think outside the box. I'm not going to say I think this is the best entry Creeper have done, as that title still belongs to the debut Eternity in Your Arms, but I also have to say I enjoyed this a lot. Maybe even more than Sex, Death, and the Infinite Void. It goes by in a flash, but it also doesn't feel bloated, which is great. Creeper made something nice with this follow-up EP, and there will be concert staples from American Noir for years to come. They were smart with keeping these tracks from the recording session, whether that was the original plan or something to work with during break, but it all just makes me excited for what's next for the group. I've been selling Creeper for a while now, guys. It's time to jump on the bandwagon. Overall, American Noir in true noir form tell a tragic story with amazing sonic high points and gorgeous melody that also features some strong instrument work. It's a great EP for those who relish in what Sex, Death, and the Infinite Void brought and still want more. Grab some tissues and sing along loudly while we watch Creeper continue to evolve. What did you think of the new music this month? Leave a comment and let everyone know. Big thanks to my patrons and a special thanks to Brandon Barrettfeld, Chris Doman, and Dom Noble. You can have a say in upcoming videos, get weekly new music playlists, and more by supporting Rocked on Patreon. Click the link in the video description for more info. Please subscribe and ring the bell to get notified of upcoming videos, and you can keep up to date with Rocked on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. As a heads up to everyone watching, I'm playing bass weekly on Wednesday nights now on Twitch, taking requests and talking about songs played by big bands, and either doing really well with some songs or completely embarrassing myself with other songs. The only way for me to get better though is to fail in front of a live audience, and I'm not afraid to show how much room I have for improvement.